Good morning, all. Today, I want to talk about the most misconstrued concept in the world, the most misunderstood statement or sentence in the world, and that is, who is a man of God? Who is a man of God? That is what I want to talk about today. Now, before we understand who truly is a man of God, there are some basic questions that we need to answer. Some basic, very important questions that we need to answer. One, must a man of God always be a religious leader? Is it possible that a man of God should be a political leader, a doctor, a scientist, or must he always be a religious leader? Very important. We need to understand that. Then, secondly, we also need to understand or ask the question, is religion the only institution of God? Is religion the only institution of God? Very important. It is the understanding or providing answers to these questions that will enable us to understand who is a true man of God. Now, let's use the same book that the men of God used themselves, which is the Holy Bible. Now, from the Holy Bible, some people were called men of God in the Bible. People like David was called man of God in the Bible. Abraham was called man of God in the Bible. Elijah was called man of God in the Bible. Elisha was called man of God in the Bible. Isaiah was equally categorically called servant of God, which is even a greater title. So now, if you study the lifestyle of these people that were addressed as men of God in the Bible, let's start with David. David grew up as a soldier. He got himself exposed when he went to uh, supply food to his brothers that were fighting the Philistine. At that point, you notice that there was a Philistine called Goliath that was challenging the Israelite. He offered himself to fight, and he fought and win the Philistine. That he fought and killed Goliath. From there, he was inscribed into the army, and from the army, he becomes the king of Israel. So, if you look at the lives of David from the beginning to the end, there was no time that David was a preacher. There was no time. David was a soldier and a king, but he was called man of God in the Bible. Now, let's talk of Moses. Moses was born at Egypt when the Israelites were at Egypt. His mother hid him so that they would not kill him. At the end of the day, he was brought up by Pharaoh, an Egyptian king, which is like Egyptian president. But he did not forget his root, that he was an Israelite. He was told and he believed in that, and he fought for the liberation of Israel from Egypt. He was more like a revolutionary leader, a liberator who said, okay, it is time to let my people free. So on the process, he led the Israelites in a war that have never happened before. He struck the water of the Egypt and all of them turned to blood. It was like freezing the asset of a country. That's what the Americans are doing to the Russia now. It was like freezing the asset of a country because the water, the Nile River, was what the Egyptians rely on mostly to survive. For him to turn that water to blood means that they don't have their major asset, their major resources, like Nigeria depend on oil now to survive. That's exactly what he did. He led a revolution and liberated his people from the shackle of slavery in Egypt. That was Moses. He was called a man of God in the Bible. Elijah was a prophet. Yes, I can say it was only two men of God in the Bible. People that the Bible mentions as men of God is only two that were seer or prophet. Yes. And even with that, they were not preachers. They were not preachers per se, but they were prophets. Now let's come to Abraham, in which the Bible addressed as friend of God. Friend. For you to be a friend, is even a greater title than man of God. But was Abraham a prophet? No. Because before Abraham, there was no Abrahamic religion. There was no Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. But he was called man of God. Abraham went and founded a new nation, founded a new religion, and started worshiping his God. He was called a friend of God. He created his own God. The God that we worship today was created by Abraham. So, in summary, we can, from those examples in the Bible, we can rightly say that men of God must not always be religious leaders. A man of God can be a political leader. A man of God can be a scientist. A man of God can be a doctor. A man of God can be an engineer. Because David was not a preacher. Moses was a revolutionist. He led a revolution. So from that example, if a man of God can be a political leader like David, if a man of God can be a revolutionary leader like Moses, we can rightly say that religion is not the only institution of God. Rather, anything, any institution, any organization that is out to liberate its people can be said to be an institution of God. Now, if you study the life of these people in the Bible that we call men of God, they share certain characteristics. One, they were all liberators. They come to save their people and no one else but their people. In short, they even have to fight and kill to protect their people. Moses killed an Egyptian that was fighting with his brother and buried his body in the sand. That's what Moses did. David led a lot of war against the enemies of his people and killed thousands. So those men of God are actually liberators, people who came to liberate their people only. No man of God come to save the world. No, none of them in the Bible. Study your history, study your Bible very well. No man of God in the Bible come to say, okay, let me serve and unite the old world. No, their major interest is always their people. Those are the true men of God. Their interest is to liberate their people and no one else. Those are the true men of God. Now, on that context, that is the context that we can base our assumption of who are truly men of God in Africa, in Nigeria. I want to start with the past men of God, people who truly come to liberate this country and this continent. People like Marcus Garvey, Thomas Sankara, Patrick Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, Muammar Gaddafi. Those are the people that really come to save Africa. Those are the true men of God. And our own Odumegu Oyuku was a man of God. Because he knows very well that the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria are of diverse culture and of diverse attitude and of diverse opinion. And there is no way they can unite peacefully. And when the people do not unite, there will always be crisis along that line. That is the problem we have in Africa today. The contraption that was created by Europe is causing crisis in Africa. And Odumegu Oyuku noticed that and said, okay, let's split. Let these people go, form their nation. These people go. And that's what we still need in Africa today. Those are the true men of God. People who came to liberate their people from poverty, from suffering. Those are the true men of God. Your pastor is just a religious leader. Yes. Your bishop is a religious leader. Your imam is a religious leader. Men of God are people who truly come out and vote. How many pastors are fighting in reality against the injustice, against the killing in the churches. How many? They don't want to put themselves in precarious position. People who fought put themselves in dangers. And so many men of God of today do not want to put themselves in dangers. They do not want to lose their luxury life. I can even say that Nnamdi Kanu is more of a man of God than all our pastor are together. Why? Because he come as a liberator to fight to liberate his people from the shackle of what he feel that is their people are being marginalized and all those things. So he came to liberate their people. So those are the true men of God. So next time when you want to address somebody as man of God, you ask some question. Is this man feeding, nurturing, and helping the community? Is he helping his people? Is he liberating his people? So liberation is not only about physical. How about liberating the mind of the people? The pastors we have today keep the mind of the people in shackles. They inform them that financial blessing comes from God, instead of informing their followers that financial blessing comes from being disciplined and having good knowledge of financial education. That's what true men of God did. They are truthful. A man of God is supposed to tell his followers that for you to be financially buoyant, you need to have good financial education. You need to be disciplined to achieve that, not to pray. A good man of God needs to tell you that when you are sick, you need to seek medical attention, not prayers, not fasting. A good man of God needs to inform you that when your life is in danger, you need to protect yourself with arms and weapons, not with prayer and fasting. You see, the Israelites that we pray and call the God of Israel to come and liberate us, help us, protect us, the Israelites protected themselves with weaponry technology. They have some of the best weapons in the world. If not, they will sweep. They are surrounded with enemies. So if they rely on the God of Abraham, the God of Judaism, today Israel will not exist again. But they rely on weaponry technology to despite that they are oppressing others in the process. Yes, that's how the world works sometimes. They rely on weaponry technology to protect themselves, not the God of Abraham or the God of Judaism. So a true man of God must tell you that you don't need prayer to protect yourself. You need a good system. The government must put things in place. If the government cannot do that, you need to organize security, armed security to protect yourself, not prayer and fasting. Those are the true men of God. Those are the ways of the true men of God. So next, when your pastor preach, you listen. Listen to him. A pastor that encourages you to donate to God and seek your blessing, your reward will be in heaven is a fraud. Why is he not getting his reward or waiting for his own reward in heaven? Why is he asking you to donate? Why? Ask yourself that question. Donate to the work of God, donate to God. Which of the God? Do God eat money? They want to use the money to build, to do the work of God. Who owns the church? It's an incorporated trustee. Who are the trustees of the church? Have they ever changed trustee of any church apart from changing it from the Father to the Son? So next time, when you want to know who is a true man of God, listen to what the person is doing, the preaching, the talking, the actions, and if it is not aligned with liberation, with guiding you, with liberating you physically and even mentally, know that person is not a man of God. It is only those that come to liberate you physically and mentally that are true men of God. Once again, my name is Ubong Alfred. I'm an entrepreneur. My interest is in business, African development, and everything in between. If you believe that this is the direction we should go, join with us. Like our page. We'll get organized. Thank you very much.